Hello everyone, and welcome to this 4th edition of the Vendée Mag. Coming up, the foiler's mad dash towards the Southern Ocean. Armel Leclerc, skipper of the Ultime Banque Populaire 11 and 2016 Vendée Globe winner, gives his expert analysis. Finally, we go behind the scenes with the 5 members of race management, a true lifeline between sea and shore for our 39 sailors.
A little wind, 25, 26 knots, at a boat speed of 30, 31. So I've got my safety belt on. A perfect day.
Overture to the roaring 40s. The orchestra conductor is Charlie Dallin. The Massif Santé Prévoyant skipper is dictating the tempo to the 10 or so soloists in his wake.
But the boat's setup is quite incredible. I mean, she's flying to the Indian Ocean. And behind me, you've got to laugh. Apologies for the framing, but it's pounding heavily. I've got my heavy-duty helmet on because we are getting roughed up quite a bit. But we're going the right way, and fast. We've got this little low-pressure system, but it's still sunny. Life on board is a bit challenging in these conditions, though. I mean, cooking, eating, sleeping, generally moving about, everything's a challenge. There's a small dot over there in the distance, and that's Jeremy Bayou.
The 10th Vendée Globe fleet is striking the right notes as the leaders reach a crescendo. But how did they get to this point? Let's look back over the last few days. Tuesday, the 19th of November 2024, 9th day of the race, and the pursuit of Sam Goodchild Invulnerable 1 was on. The foilers, Rouillant, Lunven, Dallin and Simon hurtled down the Atlantic, driven by the generous trade winds. The ambitious Johan Rischom, at the helm of Paprec Arkea, set the tone.
30 knots. Wow. It's awesome. I don't know what Nicholas Lundven's record is. I'll see. I might not have long enough to do it, but it'll be a very nice tack. The sea's quite calm. 18, 19 knots. I'll bear away now. Oh, I nearly lost the rudder then. 27, 28, 29. In the wave too. Oh, great. I could do this all day.
Rischom eclipsed his friend Lundven's 24-hour solo record for a monohull.
I've a message for Nico Lulu. Sorry, mate. I feel really bad, but I pinched your world record. 551 miles. Hey, you can try and get even in the south. Bye-bye. Well, Johan Rischom, I'm in the doldrums. 0 knots and being overtaken by seaweed. And I hear that you've just taken my record that stood for a week, 8 days, a 24-hour distance record. Stop copying me all the time. It's not on. Leave me alone. Well, Yo-Yo, I'm really chuffed for you. Well done. You deserve it. I saw your averages last night. I mean, seriously, you were flying. Catch you later.
The ride of the Valkyries, led by Sam Goodchild, came to an abrupt end on entering the doldrums.
I got here 2 or 3 hours ago and already had a few squalls. Typical doldrums. It's dull, raining, it's windy.
Becalmed, the sailors shared their delight on entering the intertropical convergence zone with its tiring, unpredictable weather.
Here we go again. Yippee!
Clac, clac, clac.
Clack, clack, clack. That's the good side. Over there, though, that looks nasty, that cloud. Gonna be a downpour any moment. That's the doldrums for you.
Un peu ça, le poteau noir.
I'm drifting as best I can in the slack, rainy conditions out here. This is a new definition of hell. It's been like this since 1 a.m. We're in the doldrums, and it's pitch black. The wind speed's 8 knots. I'm sailing upwind.
Oh, it's 3 a.m. We're under a dark black cloud, and the wind has shifted 180 degrees. So, I've had to furl my Jenica and switch to a small headsail. It's mad.
Did you see that one? I'm keeping an eye out to see if another squall's coming. I think we're all in the same boat, though.
To bide their time, the sailors carried out minor repairs and general maintenance of their boats and themselves.
So, between 2 squalls, I've had time to run up a... What's this? Tabbouleh? Looks quite nice.
I'll enjoy this. This morning, I found this. Noodles with coriander.
Half a day later, and the foilers were out of the doldrums and off again.
That's it. We've found the wind again. It's great. We're at 15, 16 knots now, and frequently up as far as 20. Wow, he's got the lot. Battling with Johan Richon now. So, I can't even go for a rest. It's a relentless race, but we are making good progress. Got to tell you though, it's hot and it's humid in this carbon Tupperware box.
Thomas Rouillon's chosen route west of the fleet paid off with a direct tack from Cape Verde to the equator. He was the first to break into the southern hemisphere.
That's it. We're in the southern hemisphere, just as the sun is about to set.
The Vulnerable 2 skipper had Charlie Dallan a fraction behind. Dallan, whose boat is quicker when close hauled, is motivated by revenge after the 2020 Vendée Globe.
Better not drink too much. I wanted to mark the occasion more than last time. I'm not really superstitious, but you never know if it's unlucky, as they say. Well, I'm happy enough in any case. It's like 4 years ago. There was Thomas, me, and a subject of His Majesty.
I only give him some of my favourite chocolate, some Grenada chocolate, where I grew up in the Caribbean. There's a piece for me, a piece for Neptune, and a piece for the boat. So here we go, a little chocolate button for Neptune. Thanks, Neptune.
After the equator, the fleet stretched out. 2 groups formed. The dagger-boarded mockers to the north.
Welcome to the Southern Ocean!
I'm topsy-turvy. I'm upside down now. Ah, that's good.
And to the south were around 15 foilers that had built up a 300-mile lead over the chasing pack. 5 of the 6 female sailors competing in the race were in that lead group. Justine Metro, Samantha Davis, Clarice Kremer, Pip Hare and Isabelle Joschk hooked onto the locomotive and were definitely in the race.
There are 2 groups. There's a leading group, and I'm at the back of that. Today, it's not easy to say who'll come out the best, because it's like opening a new deck of cards now we're through the doldrums. That's what's so fascinating. We're all kind of starting from scratch.
This boat's quite amazing.
Half an hour ago, I was telling myself I needed to change sail as the wind had subsided. But now it's increased by 3 knots and the boat is doing 25 to 30 knots. Helmet on! Bye-bye, Fernando. I don't know what the next island will be.
The Brazilian archipelago of Fernando de Noronha marked the point where Massif Santé Prévoyance moved into the lead. Charlie Dallan and his rivals have the bit firmly between their teeth as they try and catch a low-pressure system coming straight from Brazil. Their goal is to break clear in the southern seas.
Now, over there, behind you, facing me, there's a small low-pressure system. It's just starting to build. Now, it should produce some favourable winds shortly to take us south of South Africa.
Assez favorable pour descendre jusqu'au sud de l'Afrique du Sud.
It's great because the boat's surfing beautifully, but at the same time it is putting some stress on the machine. Finding the right balance is never easy, but it's a really important stage of the race. The boat generally is going well. I've managed to sleep because the sea isn't too rough. I'm trying to enjoy it, despite all the problems. I've got to go on attacking. I need to keep with this low pressure, otherwise I'll just end up in the calm behind, so I have to attack.
Average speeds amongst the leaders shot up to well over 23 knots. 6 skippers bettered the mark set just 4 days earlier by Johan Rischom, but with 579 miles covered in 24 hours, the man from Lorient held on to his record, for the time being at least. There's no doubt that a strong wind and a rough sea puts boats and sailors to the test. Jeremy Bayou, for example, has been suffering with his knee for a few days.
We've a bit of a change of atmosphere out there. Conditions are looking a heck of a lot tougher now. Physically, well, I'm a bit better. It's a good job. I've got a lot of work on. I had a major issue with the rigging. It was a complicated thing. It was tiring, stressful too. I just hope now it'll hold out until the end.
We'd come to a strategic point of the race. The fleet of 39 Imocas became increasingly stretched and split into 3 groups, with Medallia, Groupe Apicil and Fortuné Best Western in between.
It's not easy. Our gap is bound to form ahead of us. It's all going to stretch out ahead. That's just the way it is. I mean, I'll try and stay in it as long as possible. It's not easy to surf in it because the wind isn't really to the north, and it's not straightforward to follow the low pressure area, so I guess I'll keep it as long as I can. Then there'll be a transition, and we'll certainly pick up the Azores high, which will quickly come east, I'd imagine. But the gaps, yeah, they'll definitely widen now.
800 miles behind the speedy Trailblazers, the daggerboard boats have no choice but to wait and see what the next few days bring before finalising their new tablature.
Not a lot's going to happen for the next 3 or 4 days. There's nothing in the pipeline in terms of strategy. But over the weekend there should be a small low-pressure area, which I think might be quite tricky. That's when we can put a smile back on our faces, if we sail well.
The next movement will be played in the Southern Ocean. The idea is to catch the train of low-pressure systems more directly than via the initial route, with race management having reduced the Antarctic exclusion zone. Sébastien Simon struck the right chord, beating the solo record once again after covering over 610 miles in 24 hours. Teamwork Team Snef has hit a flat note though. Swiss skipper Justine Metro has lost her JO. a headsail that's particularly useful in slight winds and for tight reaching. Cue the drum roll, the 10th Vendée Globe Symphony has only just begun.
Nous le voyons depuis quelques jours déjà.
For the last few days, since the fleet entered the South Atlantic, we've seen foilers clocking up amazing speeds, averaging 23, 24, even 25 knots. We're fortunate to have Armel Leclerc, the winner of the 2016 Vendée Globe, with us today to share his insights. Hi, Armel.
Hi, Christian.
What are your thoughts on these real-life speed tests?
Well, it's great to see the top boats achieving averages like this now. Conditions are perfect, really, for going very fast. The skippers don't really have to manoeuvre a lot, apart from perhaps the odd sail change. But there's no need to jibe, no course changes, and the weather conditions are excellent. And they've got wind speeds of 20 to 30 knots, with moderate sea conditions. So the new boats really have a chance to display their full potential over several hours or maybe even days. And they're sailing over 500 nautical miles a day, sometimes nearer to 600.
You might be surprised to hear that there's almost 1,000 nautical miles difference between Charlie Dallin's current position and your position as leader 8 years ago. How do you explain that?
Well, to be more precise, I sailed 1,000 nautical miles more on this route. But in terms of distance to the finish, it's actually more like 500 nautical miles. That's because the skippers in the 2024 edition didn't get so much wind after Madeira. The pace was slow between Madeira and the doldrums, so they ended up quite a way behind. I think they were nearly 2 days behind Alex Thompson's reference time. And since then, they've gained a little bit of ground on my reference time. Of course, there's an awful long way to go yet, but we can definitely see the difference in speed between our boats 8 years ago. We hit high speeds in the South Atlantic too, with favourable conditions, and we caught a similar low that gave us a nearly direct route to Good Hope. But we were averaging 20 to 21 knots over 24 hours, not around 25.
What frame of mind are you in when you round the Cape of Good Hope? And what weather conditions can the skippers expect in the coming days?
The Cape of Good Hope is the first of the 3 major capes, of course, and it really does mark a key point in the race at this early stage. It'll give us a clear picture of how the fleet is starting to spread out, with the gaps forming between the leaders, the chasing group, and not forgetting the rest of the pack. It's also a major transition point. In the hours leading up to it, the fleet will shift from the fast-moving Atlantic, especially in the southern part this time, into the roaring 40s. Now from there, things really will change, because they're in for 3 to 4 weeks of really tough conditions. It's a bit like shifting gears, if you compare it to cycling. They're about to tackle the high mountains. Now that marks the start of a new phase, so we'll really see how each skipper, especially those top contenders, copes with what's thrown at them, how they handle the steep climbs ahead.
Thanks, Armel. Thanks for joining us. I'd now like to introduce you to the members of the Vendée Globe race management team, the crucial link between sea and shore. We're in the race management office. It operates 24/7 and will remain open until the last skipper returns and the finish line closes. The office is always staffed, and there's always someone to answer both the hotline and the landlines. There are 5 of us here at RM, 4 of us working 6-hour shifts. Our primary responsibility is to ensure the safety of the boats. We monitor routes and speeds while recording anything that happens aboard. We have to stay informed to keep watch and take action if needed. At the moment, we're working on changes to the ice zone. Information indicating that the ice is well beyond our zone is very reassuring. This led us to propose a new, lower ice zone last night. As a result, we're expanding the boating area and slightly shortening the route by moving further south. The racers will be able to sail a little further south than currently planned, so this is the first adjustment since the start of the Vendée Globe, with more changes expected.
Hi Fabienne, how's it going? Are they still belting full speed with the weather front? Nah, things have calmed down a bit. Is that the ranking reference point, the sliding point here?
Yeah, that's over. Display the waypoint route.
We try to get there 15 minutes before the handover to overlap a little and get a feel for what happened during the last shift and to consult all the messages to and from the racers or the team managers. If there are any sensitive matters to address, that overlap could be a bit longer. What's a quarter of an hour here and there between the teams? Being a race manager for the Vendée Globe is a unique job. It's a fascinating job. Overseeing 39 solo skippers, all about to race in the Southern Ocean. We don't do everything, we can't, but in some ways we take care of them. I'm not being pretentious, because of course it all happens at sea. And you might not think it, but we have got a huge task on our hands. Is that all? Okay, there are still a few missing. Do you have New Europe? All right, yeah, see you. Bye. Is that the seal?
That one's okay.
Okay, I'll add it.
To monitor the fleet, we asked all the boats to send us the code beside the engine seal to check that it hasn't been tampered with and that no one was using their engine. That takes a long time for 40 boats.
Have you had any others since?
Sam Davis and Medallia. It's about reinforcing arbitration because although the race is an adventure, it has rules. You can sail around the world solo on a boat if you like.
I don't believe they'd cheat, but using your engine for an hour or so through a ridge, you can pick up wind very quickly and potentially get away.
So Seb Marset's face. His smile is great. I'll call him. Hello. Hi Seb, Hubert here. Everything okay?
Fine. I can't hear you properly. I don't have my headset on. You caught me out.
Listen, when I saw your smile, I had to have a chat.
Yes, well, it doesn't stop me focusing. I'm 31st and I'm still focused, you know. The doldrums weren't kind.
Tough.
You didn't need the engine then?
Well, that's great, Seb.
Take care. Yeah, thanks. It's good to hear you. Say hi to the team.
Bye, Seb. Ciao.
There's still a focus on people in a race like this.
So what's for dinner tonight? What have you got? What have you prepared for us?
The same as last night. It was really good. Want some pâté?
Please.
Ouais, Jean-Luc?
You haven't confirmed Rishom, have you? The shift ends at midnight. Claire will then take over until 6 a.m. The best shift. Hi, Claire. Okay?
Yep.
Between reviewing the ice, amending the race instructions, finalising V2 of the ice zone, validating checks and seals, weather analysis and routing, day-to-day business, debriefing on damage with the class.
There was a lot to do today.
Yes, plenty. Right, Claire, I'm going to go.
Yep.